This is the Realme 10. It is so good, you can skip the Pro models. Hi everyone, this is JD, your gadget review friend. Welcome back to Gadget Rev Now. Anyone buying the Realme phone is probably on a budget, means every single penny counts. I feel that Realme made a mistake of putting the bright AMOLED screen on the regular model. It is so good, you can skip the Pro and Pro Plus. Okay, so by saying that, let's break this down. Realme 10 received an AMOLED screen with 1000 nits of max brightness, Mediatek Helio G99, 50 megapixel camera, and Corning Gorilla Glass 5. The Realme 10 Pro received an inferior LCD screen with only 680 nits of max brightness, which is half of the brightness of the regular Realme 10. It has Snapdragon 695, which is basically the same as Helio G99, and a higher resolution 108 megapixel. Both phones will pixel bin, so the image will output the same 12 megapixel. And the most expensive Pro Plus received an AMOLED screen with only 800 nits, though advertised to get 1 billion colors, it won't be visible on the naked eye. It received Dimensity 1080, which will not be different to G99, same MediaTek processor, but a bit faster. They removed the SD card and the headphone jack, and I'm not sure if it's Gorilla Glass. This puts the more expensive models in an awkward position, as you get more when you buy the regular Realme 10. So as we review this phone, we will talk about the things that we love, the things that we hate, and our recommendations. Let's go to work. First, let's talk about the things that we love. The biggest selling point is a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED screen with 85% screen-to-body ratio and 90Hz refresh rate. The bezels are super minimal. This seriously feels like any other flagship phone just by looking at the screen. I switched from iPhone 14 Pro last week and I didn't feel any downgrade while looking at the screen. I honestly like the form with the rounded edges. Again, feels like my super expensive iPhone 14 Pro. The display can achieve a peak brightness of up to 1000 nits, and the cutout selfie is on the side, so when you're playing games, you are basically covering the whole, and it's a full screen phone. The 90Hz refresh rate makes the screen buttery smooth, though for me 60Hz will suffice if it means longer battery life. The next thing to celebrate is the performance. It rocks the Mediatek Helio G99 processor. I've seen this configuration before with one of my sponsored video, the Unihertz tank. I'm familiar with the processor and how it operates on my day-to-day activity. Personally, if I have enough budget to buy the Realme 10 Pro, I would just upgrade to the Realme 10 with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage configuration. Using the phone on social media, communication, and mid-intensity games, I didn't feel any stuttering on the phone. I probably had some apps reloading when I opened it, which I feel they shouldn't be if I have 8 gigs of RAM, but those are just minor things. On my own personal use, I can play Mobile Legends in high settings, which is enjoyable, and this can actually be a better phone for gaming. In terms of performance, this phone is decently fast on my everyday use. Again, I don't expect you to play high-intensive games. Not sure if Realme 10 Pro and Pro Plus has Gorilla Glass 5. It wasn't advertised, but one thing is for sure, this affordable phone has Gorilla Glass 5. And why not? This phone has the best screen amongst the 3 models this year. It should be protected. I still think this is a mistake that Realme put the brightest AMOLED screen, and here you add a Gorilla Glass 5 protection. I wonder if this phone was manufactured by a different company. I love phones with SD card expansion. The Realme 10 Pro features a triple card slot, 2 for the SIM cards and another 1 for micro SD card, expandable to 1TB. The dual SIM capability is actually one of the things I love about this phone, but if this phone can support 1TB and you can only shoot 1080p videos, you can actually save tons of images and videos on this phone. SD card expansion actually puts this phone to unlimited storage since you can swap the SD card in a fly. The fingerprint sensor is reliable and pretty fast. I wish they opted for the under-the-display fingerprint sensor since it's common now, and that part I think is getting cheaper too. Anyway, the side-mounted fingerprint sensor is totally fine, and the sensor also acts as a power button. On my everyday work, I would say it works like 95% of the time. The only time it fails to register is when my fingers are dirty or sweaty, which is understandable. The camera performance of this phone is passable. I put this to the pros because I thought Realme did a fantastic job on the camera. I cannot say dual cameras since the other circle is just depth sensor, and I don't know why the module is that big. I guess to make an impression that it has multiple cameras, which is a bit misleading. The images have good sharpness and contrast. I thought it performed really good in daylight. Portrait mode isn't perfect, but if you just post it on social media, it will be fine. Even in darker environment, the phone still captures good detailed photos. Again, it is not the best, but good enough for just over $200. The Realme 10 is powered by 5000 mAh battery and it supports 33 watts of fast wired charging. That's the same battery capacity and charging power as on the Realme 9, and based from my experience with last year and the new Realme 10, it is pretty much the same in terms of longevity. I can easily get through the day and maybe still have 40% before bedtime. Realme included a fast charger in the box, which we don't typically see now, and I thought that was a generous move by Realme. Real bang for the buck. Aside from the fast charger they included, what I love about Realme in general, they actually provide a case to protect your phone. Every year, they ship their Realme phones with cases. On my white shiny unit, they've included the frosty gray TPU case, which I thought has a nice looking rectangular camera hole that mimics the bigger camera module style of the newer phone. I thought it was a good style. What surprises me is the Realme 10 Pro only has Bluetooth 5.2 and the Realme 10 Pro Plus only has the older Bluetooth 5.1. It seems like these Realme phones have different manufacturers, felt like those phones are a rebrand of something. Realme 10 actually has Bluetooth 5.3 that provides better connectivity and doesn't drain battery that much. Mediatek Helio G99 might be also one of the reason, but then again, I don't understand why the Pro models get the inferior and older versions. And lastly, the price. The 8GB RAM and 256GB of storage only cost me $300 Canadian dollars. If you buy the base model 464GB, it might be even cheaper. I feel like with everything you get from this phone, this is a bargain and a steal for everyone who needs a great phone in a budget. So this is everything that I love about this phone. Now personally, I would talk about the things that I hate. First is the outdated Realme 3.0. This is based on Android 12. Realme is notorious of sending few updates on their phones and not as consistent as Samsung, Pixel, or Apple. Researching on this, few sites give contradicting information, but I think in general, they will provide 2 years of major OS upgrade and 3 years of security patches. Both the Pro models have Android 13 out of the box, so they will end up getting at least Android 15, while this regular Realme 10 will end up getting 14. The next thing I hate about this phone is the build quality, especially the plastic back. Again, good thing Realme provide a case, but if you wanted to use the phone without a case, you will scratch the back starting day 1. I wish they would go for a plastic leatherette kind of back. If they will use plastic, similar to BlackBerry Motion or the one we see on LG G2 or G3, it is plastic but won't get scratched easily, or at least, it won't be noticeable. The biggest downside of the camera is there's no 4K recording. At this point in time, I think most content creators shoots 4K. It only supports 720p or 1080p Full HD video and up to 60 FPS. This is the selfie video recording of the Realme 10. Sadly, can only shoot 1080p and 720p. Now, this is the rear camera of the Realme 10. Still 1080p at 30 FPS. There's actually a helicopter right now. I don't know if you can hear that sound, but there's also a microphone jack, so you can actually install an external microphone on this phone. And the highest video this can record is 1080p at 60 FPS. How's the performance? The stabilization on higher frame rates. Another downside of the camera is the gimmicky depth sensor, just to increase the number of camera modules at the back. At this point where everything is being done on a software level, Realme could just opted for a software-based blur and snap an ultra-wide or telephoto lens, which is usable. I would even take a macro lens if I will have a chance to choose. Realme should have given this phone at least an ultra-wide lens. This is a gimmicky depth sensor. And lastly, this phone doesn't get waterproofing, or if it does, it wasn't advertised. Phones becoming more and more popular replacing action cameras now because of their stabilization and waterproofing. I would be happy if this phone receives even IP67, but it wasn't advertised anywhere, so just be careful dunking this to water. And if Realme 10 has waterproofing, let me know in the comment section below. So all in all, there are a good amount of imperfections on this phone that balances the good ones too. So what is Gadget Revenant's verdict? Is Realme 10 worth it? This phone is a great budget phone. This will give you more great features compared to the Pro models if we talk about value for money. I will not recommend this to gamers or heavy users. The Mediatek Helio G99 may not be sufficient for you. Also, if you need to shoot 4K videos, the quality of the videos of this phone is forgettable. And I will recommend this phone to anyone who loves to watch content or movies on their phones. The bright AMOLED screen looks great, the battery will last long, and the availability of extra space and headphone jack is a plus. With everything you get from this phone, the bright AMOLED screen, the highest configuration of 256 gigs on UFS 2.2 storage, and a big 5000 mAh battery with a decent performing camera, the Realme 10 Pro is the best deal of the bunch, and yes, you can skip the Pro. And there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll continue to compare this phone in our channel, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.